I'm Jeremiah McKinnon, and this is NEC News Today. Here now are the top cannabis news stories from around New England for May 26, 2023. The Massachusetts Cannabis Control Commission voted to end a pilot program for social consumption that would have limited participation to 12 cities and towns. During the month of May, the Cannabis Control Commission in Massachusetts had extensive discussion that spanned across 2 meetings on the topic of social consumption. Lawmakers updated the cannabis law last summer to finally give cities and towns the ability to opt in to host on-site cannabis consumption facilities. After participating in a working group that focused on this issue, Commissioner Camargo and Commissioner Stebbins asked fellow commissioners to eliminate the pilot program for social consumption licenses so they can move forward with developing the concept. In a vote of 4 in support, with Commissioner Roy voting present, the agency voted to move forward with directing staff to take the necessary steps to remove the pilot program from the regulations. The agency is currently engaged in a regulatory adjustment to implement the changes passed by lawmakers, including reform to host community agreements and establishing equity guidelines for municipalities. After hearing Governor Sununu support a state-run cannabis model, some lawmakers in New Hampshire are taking advantage of the opportunity to revive discussions on legalizing cannabis. Despite the New Hampshire Senate voting to reject cannabis legalization, some lawmakers inspired by Governor Sununu's comments want to restart the discussion on legal weed. Representative John Hunt has introduced a proposal to follow the roadmap laid out in the governor's recent statement about legalization. Governor Sununu says that he supports a state-run cannabis model with tight controls to protect public health and low prices to compete with the illicit market and attract customers. On Tuesday, the proposal made it through the House Commerce Committee attached to an unrelated bill. The idea of having cannabis industry regulated in the same way that the state regulates alcohol is concerning to some who feel that the model is unworkable. Governor Sununu believes that this model is optimal for the state of New Hampshire. In Rhode Island, a cannabis dispensary in Pawtucket had to remove their billboard days after putting it up, or else they would face heavy fines. After Rhode Island representatives supported a bill to loosen restrictions on cannabis advertising, Mother Earth Wellness in Pawtucket unveiled their own billboard, even though the rules hadn't changed yet. Officials from the Department of Business Regulation looked into the situation after becoming aware of the advertisement. Only a few days later, the owners of Mother Earth Wellness were told by the state to remove the billboard, and the business complied. An advertisement for a cannabis company in Massachusetts will be allowed to remain on the billboard across the street. Mother Earth Wellness could potentially face fines for pulling this stunt, but says they did it to show how unfair the current rules are. As far as New England states with legal adult use cannabis go, data shows that Vermont and Maine sales figures are growing. Each state in New England legalized cannabis at a different point in time, including a few states that launched recreational sales within the last 6 months. Some are seeing stronger sales than others, including Maine and Vermont. Vermont officials recently published sales data showing that roughly $6.5 million worth of cannabis was sold in February 2023. This represents a 6.9% increase from January sales data, according to calculations published by Hetty Vermont. The Office of Cannabis Policy in Maine has released figures that show that the adult use sales of cannabis have doubled during 2022, while the number of medical marijuana providers has dwindled. With the average price of cannabis now around $8 a gram in Maine, a number of caregivers have shut down due to market conditions and a hyper-competitive market. In comparison, Connecticut's medical marijuana sales currently exceed adult use sales, and Rhode Island officials have also noticed that sales have not met expectations. In Massachusetts, lawmakers on Beacon Hill are scheduling their first hearing for cannabis policy early next month. With summer soon approaching, the Joint Committee on Cannabis Policy has announced their first hearing on June 6th on Beacon Hill. On the agenda are a handful of bills ranging from medical cannabis to research and laboratories. In a formal announcement from the office of Representative Daniel Donahue, House Chairman of the Joint Committee, the hearing will begin at 1 p.m., but will be open for legislators and staff 1 hour before the hearing begins for those who wish to join early. Individuals planning on speaking at the hearing must sign up before the 5 p.m. deadline on Monday, June 5th, 2023. Written comments may be submitted for those who cannot attend. The committee will likely hold 5 or 6 hearings on cannabis bills to get through the 44 proposals currently before them. Last but not least this week, Connecticut representatives have voted to pass reform to erase prior cannabis charges. In a vote of 138 in support and 10 in opposition, the Connecticut House of Representatives supported an update to the state's process to remove cannabis charges from individual records. When lawmakers legalized adult-use cannabis in Connecticut, they directed state officials to review the universe of cases and remove records from cannabis possession. The bill seeks to automatically strip cannabis possession from cases containing other charges in order to avoid harsher penalties for individuals. The proposal now moves on to the Senate for deliberation. For the absolute latest New England cannabis news, head on over to necnewstoday.com and follow us on all your favorite social media platforms. If you're enjoying the show, be sure to like this video. Subscribe to NEC News Today for more great content, and hit the bell icon so you never miss an episode of the show. For New England Cannabis News Today, this is Jeremiah McKinnon, reminding you to always use cannabis responsibly and to enjoy your cannabis-filled adventures throughout New England.